Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm the death of the golden age of tabletop RPGs.
Oh man, welcome to the first episode of 2024. Starting with a banger there, dude. That's probably going to be
It'll be my best intro of the year. It'll date this episode, but anytime anyone who knows us comes in, listens to this episode, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I know what that is alluding to." So
I love that.
Thanks.
That's us. We are new year. What did I say? New year, new time, same idiots here on the Weekly Scroll Podcast. This will probably be our normal tabletop role-playing game review time going forward. Thursdays around 10 o'clock in the morning. We're condensing some stuff. Some schedules changed. And that's us. That's it.
That's it. Have a good day, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, we're bringing that joke into 2024 too. Yep, it's coming with us. I'm also going to stop trying to scream into the mic in 2024. Not going to happen. I'm going to try for you guys though. I'm going to try.
I'm going to try to grow hair this year.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm
growing some back.
Full head of hair. You know?
Yeah. You're almost there, buddy.
Yeah, I'm so close.
All right. So today on the Weekly Scroll Podcast, we are looking at The Job from Andre Novoa of Games Omnivorous. Let me turn the blur off of this for just a hot second, so you can see this a little bit more clear. How beautiful is this book, dude?
Oh, dude, it's great. Yeah, it's a really very good one.
So this is one for the podcast listeners out there that you should at the very least go to gamesomnivorous.com and look at. You should just also come to our YouTube and subscribe and watch the episode. But it's such a beautiful book. It's a very thin book. I love that it's hardcover though. I think it's perfect for this, and it's perfect for Games Omnivorous. They don't not make good stuff. You should definitely listen to our interview with Andre from Games Omnivorous.
Great interview.
Talking about,
if I do say so myself.
Oh, first of all, how great was he?
Oh,
and just
amazing. I mean, it's a really great interview because he did all the talking and was very illuminating about the process. And I was like, this is amazing. So
yeah, we can just sit back and listen to someone who is like at the top of what we like talk about why they are that, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. So The Job.
This book is fantastic. Yeah, it's a cream colored cover, and it's got a person on the front hauling away giant diamonds, but the diamonds it's all matte except for the diamonds, which are a nice shininess, and it just elevates the quality of the book into exactly what you think Games Omnivorous would put out. The art style all the way through, the graphic design is amazing. Again, this is from Andre Novoa. Now I'm going to try to say this right because they put the pronouncement on Blue Sky and I'm going to fuck it up and I apologize forever. But one of our favorite graphic designers in TTRPG space right now is Guilherme Gontijo. The work in this book, insane.
Yeah, really, really, really incredibly strong. I mean, it's beautiful to go through this book. It is definitely it is definitely a love letter to graphic design and tabletop RPGs. It's really quite nice. It's still very readable. I wouldn't say it's a full complete art book, but it is very, very high end graphic design.
Yeah, no, it's definitely still a book, but the way that they do the design throughout and just the style of the design is really fantastic. One thing is when I first saw the previews of this, when Games Omnivorous was posting it, I think I even literally commented as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, that looks like Gontijo's work. And then I was like, oh, that is Gontijo's work. Because it looked like, I don't know if you've ever seen one of Gontijo's games called Blurred Lines. It's got a similar vibe to it. So it looks, it definitely is reminiscent of this, but this is great. So why don't we get into it and show the people how cool this is.
So The Job is a heist game, right? It's about running a heist. Are you a heist game guy, Ryan?
I'm not. Here's the thing. I hate heists.
Okay.
But I like this game because what I don't like about most heist games is it to me, I don't know. I feel like it's very difficult to do a heist game without doing a railroad. In that, like, at any point the GM could just be like, oh, 10 guards come in, you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it never feels earned. It always just and it all feels kind of the same. Oh, you have to get past the surveillance and fight one set of guards, but like you're still going up in the building. Like, it's this thing that I just don't really enjoy. And obviously I'm not a fan of Blades in the Dark. I think that's it. I like a lot of the Forged in the Dark games.
I thought there was going to be an addendum on that.
I don't like the flashback mechanic of like the heist thing. I think that Duskwall is a fucking awesome setting, and it's very weird to just do weird heist stuff in like a setting full of like magic turn of the century stuff, to just be like, let's just do heists with flashbacks. I think it'd be better as a standard RPG setting. So to answer your question, no, I generally don't like heists, but the way that the job does. But what do you like about them? Not the job. What do you like about a regular ass heist?
Listen, I like the whole flashbacks thing. I love Ocean's 11. And if you're listening to this right now and you're like, Hunter, you have terrible taste, I don't care what you think.
Ocean's 11
I
is a
think
great
sometimes
movie.
just I think sometimes it just enjoying a movie makes it good. I really like Ocean's 11. Like I like the and the job does this really well as we go through it. Like the crew dynamic. Like, yeah, you have a grease man, you get the pickpocket, you get the con artist, and they all fill their little roles. I find it enjoyable. I like Blades in the Dark more than you, but I wouldn't say that I love it. I do really like this game.
But my question is, what other game than The Job does a good crew heist thing?
Oh, 5e.
Fuck off. Hey, listen, the golden age is over, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not the dumbest take I've ever heard. But yeah, so there aren't a ton of heist games, but there should be. Do more. Make more heist games.
I just think that any games that are really doing heists, most of them don't do heists well and rely too much on manipulation of rules as opposed to rules that support the heist. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of combat games that do that that have like a sneak mechanic. You know what I mean? That's about it.
I liked the idea of like giving the player characters like ownership over part of the narrative to where they can manipulate it. So, you know.
Yeah. So
something.
Again, the caveat to saying I don't like heists is I don't like them because of all the reasons I just said. I would love to run The Job because it does all the things that I just said. So let's hop in and take a peek and kind of dig through this. So again, the cover, gorgeous piece of graphic design, but again, the cover of the actual book with that, you know, the different treatment on the diamonds definitely has an elevation. But how clean and beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Definitely hits you with a lot of that like late 70s, early 80s graphic design vibe the whole way through. Definitely lends to the original Ocean's 11, the original Italian Job vibe.
Thinking of it also kind of reminds me of, oh gosh, I'm not thinking the Pink Panther, but like there's something animated from that like time period that also does this very like kind of like big block color. What is it? Yeah, I don't know. Something.
Well, and the whole and the design too, to help to talk to the audience just a little bit. It's all like, it's also solid colors. Like, it's solid colors, mostly shapes, you know, a lot of like straight lines, or like one big solid curve on the sun. But it's a specific style you have to check out. But as soon as you see it, you go, oh, okay. And then even the page on the inside, I love this too, with the guy sneaking towards like the little diamond and all of the blocks. But that's like the dice going around, which we get to. Such a great piece here. And then we get to The Job, a game of glorious heists and everything that can go wrong in them. From Games Omnivorous. Seriously, this feels like a small thing that they kind of threw out at the end of the year, and I love it so much. Like,
yeah, I definitely think it. I feel like, I mean, I know people are aware of it, but I think it deserves more noise around it.
I wonder. I kind of wonder too a little bit. And maybe I'm totally wrong, and you can tell me if I am, Andre. But I kind of feel like Andre usually does a lot of like the production, the behind the scenes stuff, and really put something out. And I kind of almost wonder if he's just like, oh, it's just my thing. I don't really need to push it too hard, and just kind of like put it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it definitely deserves more. So credits and acknowledgements page, obviously concept and running Andre Novoa, like we said, graphic design, Guilherme Gontijo, art stolen from the public domain, editing and proofreading by Walton Wood, fantastic editor. There's some playtesters, some special thanks, especially to Andre Tavares and Emma Acosta for the incredible feedback. Emma Acosta does some great work. Check them out as well. And acknowledgement, I really like this because there's a kind of a ludology of game design. Fiasco for the cinematographic story game design. Dread for the tumbling block tower. Yeah. 10 Candles for the minimalist character creation. Apocalypse World for the 2D6 narrative system. It's not a PBTA game. Leverage for the heist theme. Honey Heist for the minimalist heist themed RPG. You know, I've never even read Honey Heist. I'm a huge fan of
I actually was thinking that when I read this. Yeah, I haven't read it either.
The bear is always at the top of itch, and I just haven't got around to it. I own so much Rowan Rook and Deckard and Grant Howitt stuff that I really just need to read it. And then there's a huge list of movies that
some really, really good movies on this list.
Bangers, yeah. Thomas Crown Affair, Ocean's 11, Italian Job, Inside Man, Inception, Now You See Me, Logan Lucky, Baby Driver, Lupin, obviously Kaleidoscope, The Asphalt Jungle, Top.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good movies, and there's also Now You See Me.
Yeah. You know what? It makes sense. Like, there's a lot of the heist setup.
No, totally.
Let me do this like magic card that flies around 10 guards thing.
It is definitely a heist movie. I just once when I was like, I don't know, 22, I went on a date with a girl, like her place, and I let her pick the movie, and she picked The Inside Job. And I just remember like 45 minutes in, we looked at each other, and she was like, "I'm really sorry."
Nice. Yeah. So first printing 500 copies. That's it. That's one thing I love too. It really hits me in that weird douchebaggery part of me that says that loves small print runs, so I can later be like, haha, I have one of those. You know.
Yeah, you are a staunch collector.
I am. Yeah, I got 2 of these. So moving on to the table of contents, which is not hyperlinked.
Are there bookmarks? I actually didn't even look. There
are bookmarks, but there are no hyperlinks. Unless I'm clicking wrong. Nope. No hyperlinks. Dismiss. I don't know what I just did. I didn't want to highlight that. This is long enough. I think it would be nice to have hyperlinks in here, but it's also pretty light the whole way through. So whatever. It has bookmarks. I'll take it. There's a player rules. There's a crew section, the budget section, the preparation section, the action, and that's all just player rules. And then there's a whole referee section, which is talking about refereeing the job, the escape, creating briefs, compatibility, and the plan sheet. So really, the rules of the game, beginning to end, for the most part, are only about 23 pages long.
Yeah.
And then a lot of really good references for the referee to help their side of the heist go forward. So
it's
what
like 23 pages for the rules, but like 9 of those are just characters. You know,
yeah. It's such a light game, but there's so much depth that can be had in it. It's great. So what is this? This is what here's the thing. I love a what is this way more than like a what is an RPG section. The start of movies don't have a what is a movie like commercial. You know, if you're playing an RPG, you know what an RPG is. So what is this? The job is an RPG. Boom. That's what it is. What do you think?
I was gonna say, we've said this several times, and I think that there's like an interesting discussion to be had there about like movies don't open with that, but I feel like that is like, well, there's kind of this understanding about what a movie is by it being this ubiquitous experience that we all have watching a movie. Not that everyone's played a tabletop game, but that's just me talking about that thought. So
yeah, but I think we've also talked about the games that need it and the games that don't. Like
this is very true.
This is not a game that needs it. I'm glad they didn't have it. But again, I think we've talked over and over again. Mouse Ritter is one of our favorite games, and what is a TTRPG section in Mouse Ritter is important because it could be a lot of people's first game. So
right.
I think it's, I don't think the job from Games Omnivorous is going to be a lot of people's first, and especially not the referee that decides to pick this up. But what is this? It's a tabletop game. You need some people. You need some dice. The rules in the book offer guidelines and tools. The game has a clear objective. You pull off a heist. You either do it or you don't. That's it. But not doing it can be just as memorable, so don't worry if you're caught. It's a story that counts. One of you must take the role of the referee. The referee follows a clear set of procedures. They run the heist for the players and present trouble that may arise. The referee exists to make the story memorable, not to make the players' lives miserable. That should be in a lot of books. The other players take on the roles of a caper crew. Each of you has a specific role, and teamwork is of the essence. Make sure you prepare the heist well, etc., etc., etc. So the requirements, I love this page, like the goggles here with the eyes on it. Such plan sheet, a crew member sheet or a piece of paper, 70s funk music, spare paper for taking notes, a bunch of 6-sided dice. This is interesting. At least 10 of them, and they must have edges circa 15 millimeters and rounded corners. I'm like, that's very specific. But I assume it's because of the stack.
It's for the stack. Yeah, it makes sense.
If you got like mid-sized dice that are like flat all the way to the edges, you're going to stack it to the ceiling.
Absolutely. I was thinking most about the edges. Like, yeah, I guess if it has like very cornered, the corners are sharp, it's like easier to stack. Your rounded corners are going to slide. So dice stack is cool.
We'll get there. Oh yeah, we'll get to the dice stack. How to read this book with your eyes. In a I don't know, 10th grade American education, I guess, is that when they're finally. Players should read the rules for character creation, budget, preparation, etc. Referees should carefully read, etc. So going through the basics, again, just scrolling down to the bottom real quick to look at the graphic design at the bottom of this page. My goodness, I love the red yellow theme throughout the entire thing is absolutely stunning. And just this quasi poster style with the like the guy on the left and everything like that. It really collaging in all of these themes is fantastic. The guard or the cop with like broken glass over it, the upside down bus and stuff. It's just vibes for days.
I'm gonna say it's a book, so we're not rating vibes this time. But if we were rating vibes, I mean, I think the art in this definitely reinforces that like 70s heist vibe really well.
Super well. You feel it the entire time. And not only that, the actual layout of the book is extremely readable all the way through. Like the font choice, the mostly black on white, or there's never a time there's really like not a harsh contrast in a good way for reading. So the basics, the game leans into a narrative play style. The heist is described by the referee as much as the players. The game is played through a sequence of scenes. And it's really broken up into two styles, or to two different phases of play. This is, however, unlike in most narrative games, the job is not complex character arcs, full of interpersonal drama between players, etc., etc. It's mostly about designing a ridiculously memorable heist and attempting to beat the game, because this is a TTRPG. You can win or lose. It takes about 3 hours. 1.5 for each section. So the first is a preparation phase. Players receive a brief, which we'll go over later, detailing the location that they're robbing, the object they're stealing, and their budget, and 6 known complications. And then the preparation phase is them planning out 12 scenes across that deals with those 6 complications throughout the preparation phase. And then basically you hand that detailed plan to the referee, who has been listening the whole time and taking notes on what could go wrong. You hand that to the referee, and that is into the preparation phase. And then you go to the action phase, and that's where the referee actually guides the players through the scenes that they had planned out. And there are going to be dice rolls based on character abilities and things that happen throughout. And then there is the dice stack, which will surprise you with in a little bit. And that takes about another 1.5 hours. So it's a 3-hour game total. Would love to play this. Can't wait. It's just how do you do this digitally unless you have one elected dice stacker, you know, which is fine.
Well, yeah, I think that's that's the answer.
Yeah.
But I think you could definitely do it.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to that's it. It's like the only reason you have to be together is for the dice. So, I mean, that could also be part of character creation, is like who's got the steady hands, quote unquote, and like you get to be the stacker, you know. Then we get to the crew.
The crew. The crew. Uh, you're after the good stuff: gems, diamonds, gold bullion, a Picasso painting, Fabergé eggs, the queen's crown. Nothing short will do. You live fast, you think fast, you move fast. The one thing that scares you is getting caught. Not because prison per se, you could pull off an escape anyway, but because of the endless shame. Creating characters, pretty simple, right? You're going to choose from one of the 8 available roles. There's no repeating roles, which I do love that. Print the respective sheet, choose name and appearance, study your role stunts, and make sure you use them during the heist and start playing. Where are the stats? Also, in the center, another great, like very collagey, like 70s like movie poster. Everyone's standing, someone's got a gun out. Very implies a lot of action, and it looks great.
I really like the there's a lot of times throughout this section where they have these like asides in the book that are this like cursive writing, and I feel like it's a really good change of pace that also adds to it. But like that thing that says print the sheet or don't, and there's a whole explanation on like it's literally so simple. You have to write down like 4 things, so if you don't want to print the sheet, like you don't have to, which is great. But those little asides I think are so like vibey too, because it's in this cursive like handwriting. It almost looks like someone took the book and like wrote a note in it. It's so good. It's so good.
You got the official heist info and then a little note written by your like a contact or but yeah, where are the stats? So there aren't traditional stats in this game. The stuff you do is pretty much defined by stunts and inventory. So you need to be aware of what those are and like how to use them in a heist. This design choice has 2 reasons. This game is meant. Oh yeah, that's right. This game is meant for one shots. It's not like you're not building a character long term. The second, a big part of the game is the preparation phase, which replaces traditional character creation with planning the heist itself. Having them both would add too much time to this game. Imagine if you like had to like spend like an hour building a character, and then the preparation phase is an hour and a half, and then it's much better, much more lightweight for what this is.
Yeah, and this is when we get to character creation, like we'll talk about it more. But like this is what I was talking about in the beginning, whereas like this is a game designed to do this versus a game that you can try to do this in. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to know a dex and a strength and all that sort of stuff, because do you know the dexterity of is it Frank Ocean, Johnny Ocean, Tim Ocean? What's his name?
Frank Ocean is the artist. Is Danny Ocean or
Danny Ocean? That's what it is.
But now I'm only going to call him Frank Ocean. So
yeah. Do we need to know his dexterity or his strength, or do we just need to know what he can do?
Yeah, no, because they have a grease man for all the dexterous stuff. You know
exactly, and that's what he can do. And none of these people are superheroes. So I love that there's no stats. Who cares about any of that crap? Just tell me what you can do. What can you do for me? You know what I mean? Like what can you bring to the job? So what do they bring to the job?
So we're gonna read through one character. Let's do the pickpocket. 14 is on the page.
Okay.
But the art, if we want to stop and just look at the art as we scroll through.
Gosh. The animal
character art is really very good.
Well, and we could also just do like a quick what each one is and then go fully over one, so people know what all the classes are.
So, the animal handler, also the names are going to be very indicative. But I'll read the little blurb because they're good. Yeah. You're the Tiger King, the Dog Whisperer, the ultimate bear wrangler. You speak in animal, and you know how to train them for grandiose heists. People see you as an eccentric, but who isn't really? And then there's a quote: "I believe in integrity. Dogs have it." And it says, "Wash your hands" on the character art. It's just like petting, like. Is that a gator?
Yeah, he's petting a gator belly. Yeah.
Just says wash your hands next to it.
So good.
But funny,
hey, listen, reptiles spread E. coli, man.
This is the one character class that stood out to me in the heist, because I would have never thought about having an animal handler in the heist. But it totally works.
It totally works, and I'm sure that it's in one of the heist movies that I haven't seen.
I'm not thinking of totally.
But of all the ones, like you're right. Like when I got to this as the very first one, I was just like, well, I think they're alphabetical. I think is what it is.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's interesting, but also that's awesome. Like you could just like pull a mouse out of your pocket and have it go run an errand. Like that's dope.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. I liked it a lot. Definitely not within my own head canon of heist, but I'm like, oh, maybe I'll add that to my internal heist head canon.
That's
The
good.
next one is going to be the boss. This is your Frank Ocean.
Yeah,
The
this is
boss.
Frank Ocean.
You pull the
Oh, boy.
strings, call the shots. You dress well, talk well, and seduce well. You are all the Danny Oceans, Frank Ocean, of the world. Scotch on the rocks, an ace up the sleeve. People like you, even if they don't. 13 million, and you drive this piece of shit to pick me up.
Yeah.
um,
The boss is great. I think
I've been
they're
saying a lot today. I can tell I'm sleepy.
Dude,
That's a sign of me
I
being sleepy.
I have a card here that reminds me not to say all the
Okay,
time,
I'm
and I
gonna
still
write
say
one
it all the
right now.
fucking time. The boss is cool. I think their big stunt. Everyone gets 4, and we'll go over one more in detail. But the boss's big stunt is that they can get you one ridiculous piece of transportation, not a car, but literally like a helicopter, a fucking jumbo jet, or some shit like that. That's like the one thing that they bring everything together, but they get that one big thing, the helicopter. You know,
The tank. It's just always a tank.
the tank. Yeah.
The Bruiser. You're a thug, a hooligan, a mean machine. Working as a bouncer is not exactly your dream job, nor beating punks for the local mafia. So here you are, taking orders, making millions, and crushing bone. Let me stop you right there. Literally.
I love the don't touch her across it.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, though, like when you think of the Bruiser in a heist movie, who do you think of?
I think the Bruiser in a heist movie. I don't know who
Because
you
one
think
person, one person immediately comes into my head. It's that one British dude who was like an ex-soccer player who like doesn't talk in like fast like the like Gone in 60 Seconds, but he's in like all of them as like the guy that beats everybody up.
Yeah.
100% the dude that will
Dude, I
always
haven't
pop my head.
seen Gone in 60 Seconds since I was like a child.
You know, it's fine.
Nick Cage.
Yeah, I
Time to
love
get
that weird
caged.
blonde Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how in every Nick Cage movie, he's always like, it's time to get caged, you know? Okay, next
I visited his future grave in New Orleans. That's cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know if that guy is a Coppola?
Crazy? A Coppola?
Yeah, like Francis Ford Coppola.
Coppola. Yeah. He's
Coppola,
like the nephew or some shit of one of them.
Yeah, he's like yes, but
super random 30-second aside. In New Orleans, you can't bury people because it's too wet and the coffins just bob up to the top of the surface.
That's not the reason.
No,
it's vampires.
Yeah, well, yeah, also vampires, yeah. But so everything is mausoleums down there. So when you go on tours, you can actually tour through the mausoleums. Freaking Nick Cage has a pyramid as a future mausoleum for him, and when he was bankrupt, he lost everything except for his fucking pyramid mausoleum because he can't take it away from you because there's some law about like death stuff or whatever. And now he's like got tons of money again. But yeah, you can go visit his future pyramid gravesite in a New Orleans mausoleum graveyard.
I respect his eccentricity, you know.
Oh, hardcore. Yeah. One of my favorite episodes of Community.
The con artist, confidence games, schemes, ripoffs, scams, and stratagems. Fake passports, fake bills, and fake IDs, multiple identities, endless connections. This is where you thrive. In these waters, you're the shark. Catch me if you can. This is a good one. I always really like a con artist. I like a likable liar, you know?
Yeah.
Genius. You were the brightest in your class. At age 10, you hacked into your school teacher's computer. At age 14, you hacked into the government database. People seem petty and trivial to you. Limited, one might say. Pull the plug on that laptop and we're all dead. It's your little hacker character. You know, as much as I love playing a wizard, the like real world equivalent of being like a genius hacker does not ever appeal to me quite as much, you know? Like you'd think like that, I feel like that's the most comparable thing to a wizard when you're playing like a more grounded or realistic game as like a genius hacker. But like,
No.
you don't think so?
When if I was playing a grounded game, like, because when I think of wizards more than anything, like, either my mind goes to like dark warlock occult bullshit, or goes to just fucking weird old dude that collected too much weird old shit. Like, I think of the wizard from like the Sword in the Stone, when he goes and he's like bumbling and shit's like popping all over the place. So it would be, to me, it would be more of like an eccentric collector. You know what I mean?
Did you say the wizard in the Sword of the Stone, like Merlin?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay. Just like such a like, yeah, you know, that one obscure wizard.
Yeah.
Merlin.
That one guy, I don't know if you've heard of him before. He from this old story.
Actually also a pretty decent show.
Great God, that's such a fucking
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those sci-fi underrated series, you know. That was on Sci-Fi, right?
Oh, you're talking about the show where he's young and shit. I never finished it, but it was really good. I really liked what they did with it.
It's a pretty, like, it's not like groundbreaking, but the whole time through you're like, this is pretty good. So
yeah, it took me an episode or two to be like, oh, that's not Giles from Buffy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I watched multiple seasons of it. It was actually underrated and really good.
Yeah. The Grease Man. You were once an Olympic medalist, or a circus acrobat, or a failed stuntman. No one really knows. To be honest, no one really cares. You squeezed into the tightest spaces, and that's what matters. Can anyone get me out of here? Love The Grease Man.
Yeah,
this is probably, the Pickpocket's my favorite, but this is my second favorite. I just like the weird, nimble guy, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because some of his stuff, like the boneless one and stuff, like if you can explain it, you can pop out of any piece of furniture. Like in, I feel like the Grease Man in one of the 11 movies, I think, was it? Where
it's always the same guy.
The little Asian guy, like, packed himself into a box. All of them.
So, the first one's when he gets into the box. Yeah. So, he's a great Grease Man.
Yeah.
On to the Pickpocket. Huh, interesting. On to the Pickpocket. Your grandma once lost you in the mall, and when you came back with three wristwatches. 5 years later, your BFF's mom's diamond necklace vanished. Everyone blames you, and they were right. Here you are. Now you see it. Now you. That's the quote.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That's right. That's right. Do you want to go ahead and go through this one? Because it's the one I want to go through.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
So, character sheet. This is pretty much what you get for the character sheet. So you get that little blurb at the top. Yeah. It's got that got 'em at the top. You write down your name, you write down your appearance, and there are 4 stunts that you get, and you get all of them. You can use them, and most of the stunts throughout each one, a lot of them give you, it's a little bit different, but a lot of them give you kind of like 2 for the action phase and 2 kind of like bigger, almost like meta or preparation phase things. And then at the bottom of each one is the same kind of like briefcase with 4 items, because the inventory is important, and I really like that through. But for the pickpocket, the 4 stunts you get, one is pickpocketing, so you get advantage in actions that involve stealing a small object from any target, particularly when the target is in close proximity or bodily contact, which is perfect for the pickpocket. Steal, I'll get to that one next. Let me do safe cracking. Advantage in actions that involve delicate tasks like picking locks or complex mechanisms, setting up detonators, or tinkering with delicate equipment and the likes. Then there's magic tricks, which I thought was interesting for the pickpocket. I felt like this was a little bit more of a con man thing, but it makes sense for this guy. Magic tricks is choose a magic trick, cards, dice, or even sawing someone in half. Whenever you perform it, you have advantage to impress and stall an entire audience. And then the final one, and I love this, is steal the stack. Once during the action phase, if the stack, which we'll get to, if the stack reaches 6 or more dice, you may steal 1 die from it. If the stack falls, it counts as a collapse. Narrate your intervention. Love it. It's great. One of my other favorite moves, because I love the meta aspect of it too, if we go back to the Bruiser, They have a move called Happy Birthday Punk. Once during the action phase, you may blow on the dice stack and remove all dice that fall from the stack, and you have to narrate how you intervene to de-escalate. So you can literally just like and knock over the whole stack and like potentially save a stack if you can blow hard enough on the dice.
It has a really very I like that you have to narrate it too. Like how's the bruiser come through and de-escalate? It's like, well, the way a bruiser does, you know.
That's one thing that's through all of these stunts that, like, outside of the ones that are like advantage to this specific thing in a scene, any of the ones that are a little bit more meta like that or involve like a little bit kind of like pulled back lens, always say narrate it. And throughout the whole book, there's this thing that says the players like tell the story just as much as the referee, and like they're the ones coming up with everything, they're doing it and pushing it. So like I really enjoy that.
Artist has a really interesting one. Called What's Happening Here? Same kind of thing. Once during the action phase, if one of the crew is in trouble, you may appear out of the blue in that scene and take over the situation. Describe how you got there.
Yeah. It's so good. I do love, though, when we get later in the book, there are still rules that apply to that where like it can't be like it can't be out of the blue. You can't in the previous scene say that like you weren't even in the building and suddenly be in the building. There still has to be some type of through line. But I love that like there's not really like if it's one of your stunts, you don't have to roll for it to suddenly just like be there. You can be like, well, I'm doing that, but it makes sense because I was like next door in the last scene or something. It's so good. Was that the last?
Yeah, I think we're on to the Wheelman. I forgot about the Wheelman. Another one that I actually do often in my internal heist. Headcanon. Also forget about the Wheelman. Did you ever see Baby Driver?
Yeah, hell yeah. I love Baby Driver. I haven't
seen it actually. Yeah,
it's a good movie.
Every person who I say that to is like, oh, it's really, really good.
It is a good movie. I enjoy it.
Yeah. The Wheelman. You're the king of the road. The traffic lights terror. No reds or yellows you see but the greens. Only one thing turns you on, and that's the smell of gasoline, baby. Rumor has it you pour it on your coffee. Need a ride?
I miss the smell of gasoline. I really do. You notice you don't smell anymore? Yeah, I do. I love the smell of gasoline. I love the smell of gasoline. Yeah, ever since they put like all nozzles now have to have that like the fume sucker, it's really disappointing.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously good for our brain cells, but it smells good. So the next part, this is so the crew is 1. This is the budget. This is 2. So the referee tells you your budget for the heist. In each heist, the value differs. I think later on they say that the kind of standard heist value is usually around 250K. But the things you can get are extravagant gear, common crap, vehicles. That's pretty self-explanatory. Extravagant gear really goes to the budget. Common crap, you actually don't. A lot of it you don't really need to account for in the budget. Common, cheap, unremarkable equipment that you always have access to. Well, it's not that you don't have to account for it. It's just that you don't have to do anything to get it. Like in the setup phase, if you say I have climbing equipment, you just have it. Versus extravagant gear where like you can't just have a Lamborghini, you have to explain how you got it. And then vehicles, so common vehicles are always available at no cost. Oh, so I assume the common crap is no cost then too. Extravagant vehicles are not available for purchase. The only way to get an extravagant vehicle, specifically jet engine boats, jet planes, submarines, helicopters, tanks, is the boss's stunt that says that. So how does your inventory work and using gear? So each crew member has 4 spaces for equipment. You start the game with no equipment, and I love this. It's kind of the same concept as like gear bubbles in Troika and etc. So during you don't write anything down during the preparation phase or anything like that, but during the action phase, if you need a piece of gear, you can just say you have it and then mark it into one of those 4 slots. So the only way you can't have it is if you don't have the budget anymore for that piece of gear, or if you don't have any inventory slots left for that gear. But if you're in the middle of doing something and you're like, oh shit, I need safety goggles, you can just have safety goggles. You just fill it in, and if safety goggles cost, $100, you just mark $100 off the budget. I love that. The whole concept of kind of I'm trying to think of the word that I mean for it. It's not ephemeral, but just like it's like Schrodinger's gear. It's there, but it's not there. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. I love that idea. It's my favorite way to do inventory. Derf does it with supply. The vanilla game does it with gear bubbles. Troika does it with gear bubbles. I just love the idea of how the inventory works that way. So using gear allows the crew to perform actions that would otherwise be impossible. For instance, you can shoot someone only if you have a firearm. You can see in the dark only if you have night vision goggles. You can communicate with each other only if you have in-ear comms. The referee may give you advantage for having the right gear, but they may also call for disadvantage if you use it wrong. So again, I like the idea. You're not rolling a dex, you're not rolling this. If you have night vision goggles, you see in the dark. That's it. And if you don't, you don't. I love that. It's great. There's a price list here. In most games, I hate that. I love it in this. It's so necessary. The budget is such a huge part of it. So
it does. The budget's a whole function. A price list on this one does make a lot of sense.
It's not a normal TTRPG because I don't care how much a shovel costs in D&D, because honestly, I'm either going to be able to buy it or just murder you and take it. Like, that's how the game is designed. So this is not like that. So and again, I love the handwriting behind the budget at the bottom, but I think the cheapest thing on here is maybe like $1,000, and it's an electric lighter, but with the super powerful flame. That's expensive for an electric for a lighter.
Fucking crazy lighter.
But an EMP
I like the
bomb,
EMP bomb.
$1 million. Yeah. I think the most expensive thing after the $1 million is there some $50,000 stuff on here? There's $150K for the hologram
tech for $150.
But then you're looking at things like military drones and invisibility cloak for $100,000. So there's some crazy shit, but your budget's blown if you have that stuff. But I like that there's encouragement throughout to get fucking ridiculous, and I enjoy that. So the preparation. So the referee will slide you the brief. So the brief is an object, a place, the budget, and the complications. There's an example brief here that says the Mona Lisa is the object, the place is the Louvre, the budget is $200K, and their complications, I'm not going to list all 6, but they're, for example, security cameras are on all floors, overseen by 2 officers in a control room. That's one of 6 complications. Triple glass ceiling dome in the Hall of the Mona Lisa. That's number 2. Door pressure alarms in the painting. Like the whole Catherine Zeta-Jones dips beneath lasers kind of situation. That's a thing. Complications overview. Complications are obstacles, but they also hint at how things are done. I really love this part. So you can really kind of guide the heist a little bit by saying, oh, there's like 4 patrolling guards or whatever. Usually that's going to be nighttime. If there's metal detectors and bystanders, usually that's going to be daytime. So you can kind of, in the way that you write the brief, either guide or just be aware of how you write the brief. So there's consistency in the way that it's done, because the way you write your complications can really determine the kind of like starting base for how the entire heist is going to be done. Really a lot of the time between day and night, and if you're around people or not around people. So I really enjoy that part. So there is a thing in red here that says, however, don't be afraid of putting yourself in unnecessary trouble when you're writing the whole preparation phase, right? Be realistic to a point, get weird with it, but it's okay to let it get close to be in a really tough situation that you're gonna have to roll yourself out of later. It's fun. Don't forget, it's supposed to be fun. I can kind of see the people doing it the first time and being a little bit more reserved, but as they realize kind of how it goes the second or third time, it's you just
want those sweaty moments. You want to be between a rock and a hard place and be like, I gotta maneuver my way through. Yeah, because what's the worst that's gonna happen is you're gonna fail a roll, add dice to the stack, and have to narrate your way out of it, which is fine and fun. Yeah.
One of the last
not my table. At my table, if you mess up, I actually straight hit you in the face. So
yeah, and if we'll just kill you.
Yeah, every one damage that my characters take in our games, that's one punch they receive.
Yeah, that's one real life damage. How many HP do you got IRL, buddy? So I do like the very last part of this page says, don't shy away from the outlandish, the sillier, the better. And the most intricate, creative, and complex the heist is, or the funnier it will be to play it. So great. First of all, I know we've kind of stopped talking about the graphic design on the page, but like the layout of the page throughout, I love the note. The brief is written on a note, but the next page, the primer page, it's like half black, half yellow. Really, really enjoy the split between the two, and the, again, black, yellow, red vibe all the way throughout.
I feel like there's this like from this point on, there's still some pages that are like white background, the majority of it, that have text over it, but from this kind of point on, it really takes us like big colors on the entire page.
Yeah,
and it works really well.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. It's like, it's not until you get into like the preparation, it's like, okay, now flip. Now it's like all these colors everywhere and a yellow background, black background. I think. I mean, I'm sure it's intentional. You know, it is absolutely intentional.
Does great, yeah. But like having things be kind of straightforward, black on white, you know, very readable, very straightforward, and then jumping into the weird part of it is, like you just said, it's such a, like, flipping it. Like if I was sitting at the table doing this and I flipped to this page, my heart rate would definitely go up by a couple and be like, all right, we're fucking doing it. It
feels like a natural progression.
Yeah. It's so good. And especially, and then when we get to the referee page, love that spread. So, because I'm not even looking at this in spreads, but like in spreads, a lot of this makes a lot of good sense too. So the plan, you come up with a plan, you write it down, there's 12 scenes. The main rule is that you must include all the complications. So you have to actually address all the 6 complications. And generally you try to have like 1 or 2 scenes address each one. And then they do a good breakdown of like the stages of like when you should be doing things. And there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 stages. There's an infiltration stage, which is usually scenes 1 and 2, which is actually breaking in. There's a deployment stage, scenes 3 through 6, where you're getting people and stuff in all the right places. Infiltration, it says choose 1 complication to deal with here. Deployment says choose 2. Execution is scenes 7 through 10. You're actually executing the heist, and there's 2 complications here. And the escape is scenes 11 through 12. And you should choose your last complication here. But I do love the instruction at the top of this. It says to facilitate formulating the plan, follow this structure, but this is flexible. Use it only if it makes planning easier. Discard it if it becomes a hindrance. I love that. Yeah. And then the scenes primer. So these are kind of like rules for the scene. So each crew member has to appear in 2 scenes. Has to. Multiple characters can appear in the same scene, while some scenes can be performed solo. Each scene must describe 1 explicit course of action or intention. A single sentence is enough, clearly identifying the crew member, their action. So you can't just have a scene where like nothing really happens. Everything has to progress the story. All 6 complications have to be dealt with. You don't forget to world build as much as you want. You don't need to ask the referee, and I think this is going to be the hardest part for players, especially people with D&D brain. Is you don't have to ask the players, you build the world. So it says specifically don't ask the referee, is the vault directly linked to the police's alarm system? Or how many security guards are in the surveillance room? You pick. You can just say, you know what? Like the vault actually is linked to the police's alarm system, because that's fun and interesting and exciting to get around. So if you're with players who are especially in the like 5e D&D brain of just like feed me the story so I can make a roll, I think that's gonna be the hardest part for people. And I think like early people of refereeing needed to be like, you're building the world, you decide, you tell me the story, you decide. And I think this is a great game to try to help people break out of D&D brain. Cinematographically, that word is used like 4 times, and it's just a big long word, and I love it. It's great, but it's it doesn't roll off the tongue super great. Think like a movie script. Use gear eccentrically and extensively. Get crazy. Use a helicopter. Crew members can appear in a place only if there's a logical reason for them to do so. Usually from actions performed in previous scenes. That's what I was saying with like those random like pop out of furniture shit. And the scenes must be written down in a plausible timeline with no flashbacks. Thank you, Andre. And the last scene is apotheosis of the Grand Escape. That's it. I like the setup scenes. That's the next part. Are you a big fan of the setup scenes? I enjoy them.
I believe so.
Or the
What
concept.
I can't remember. I had a thought when I was reading this last night. And I can't remember what it was.
All right. Well, let me tell you all
my
about.
brain's a little mushy right now.
Let me tell you all about setup scenes and see if it picks it back. So this is optional, but I would definitely use it. So it says basically at the start of the action phase, you can do like the pre stuff for it. So there's like tropes involving setup. So specifically like practicing something like the bruiser beating up some guards or whatever. There's reconnaissance, which is like actually like watching the guards' movements and writing down notes and stuff. It's all the stuff like you get the crew together and then you go out and prepare for the actual heist. These are called setup scenes. So it's kind of between the preparation and not. You can hack the building.
Also, I would absolutely do this. Sorry, my brain is mush, but it took me a while. I was immediately thinking of I think it is actually Ocean's 11 when they do like the practice like robbery of the safe that they build, and then they play that footage for like as they're actually robbing the real safe. Yeah,
so good. Yeah. I really like, so disguising yourself as hired staff makes sense. The not enough dough is funny, where it's like you only have a budget of 200,000, but you need something that costs more, so you can just do a pre-scene where you steal the thing that you need, which I think they do in one of the Ocean's movies too, where they do steal like an EMP or some shit like that.
They do, yeah.
So it says why these scenes. It's because it's interesting, it's fun. You can set up stuff so that it makes sense later. Like there might be times where it would be hard to make the action go from et cetera throughout, or you might need like a weird, interesting piece of equipment. So it makes a lot more sense when you get to one of the example ones. There's a part where in the setup scene, one of the guys like has an interaction with like a housekeeper or a janitor or something, and then during the heist suddenly like the janitor pops out and it's that guy, and it's like, oh, during the setup scene he put himself in that place. So that's cool. The only part about this that I think is interesting, and I think I would be just a little fuzzy on, is there's heat that you can get from setup scenes. So you can actually start the game with dice in your stack already if some of your setup scenes might bring heat to the crew, but there's not a really solid explanation for when it would and when it wouldn't. It says, depending how hard or realistic each setup scene is, the referee will decide if this brings heat. The referee evaluates each scene one by one. The initial dice deck starts with that. There's not really an example here of that. And later, like they talk about some setup scenes and then say like, there's 3 dice with it, but like not which ones did and why. So I think like super easy stuff, I don't know if it would bring a lot of heat, but maybe like stealing something beforehand, I would definitely give heat to.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah, I like that type of discretion, but I think maybe some more parameters laid out would be nice.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that hard, and you can kind of pick and choose. Like I don't mind. Like I think maybe even just like one specific example of like what is heat and what's not heat would be really, really nice. But it's not. It's not by any means breaking whatever. So. Next, there's an example plan, and I love the fact that there's an example plan through this. Do you want to talk about the example plan?
Yeah, we're robbing the fucking Louvre in Paris. We're stealing the Mona Lisa. So that starts with a budget of 200,000, which I did not deep dive the referee section nearly as hard as I should have, but I believe that's like fairly like considerable for a budget.
I think the average is 250K, 50, right? So it's just a 250. It's 250.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a little light. I do like that this example is a continuation of the example like earlier. It's the Mona Lisa and the Louvre.
It's the same one.
And the same complications, and I enjoy that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a boss, a con artist, a grease woman, a genius, and a bruiser. They all have names. The best one's Amazing Jenny. Just because that's a good name. It has examples of the setup scene. Monsieur Gerard sends a guard to the hospital and takes his job at the museum. Livingston devises a special surveillance system. It is, of course, engineered to make cameras go black by removing a small electrical circuit. Rit sets up a meeting with the museum director to sell her a new surveillance system. While there, he performs a magic trick with a cleaning staff member. Amazing Jenny practices with a replica of the painting. Georgina pulls a few strings to secure a helicopter. That's right, because Georgina's a boss. So she's like, I got a tank. A tank's going to land on the roof. And then it goes through the job scene by scene, and it breaks up between infiltration, deployment, the kind of like standard framework that is optional to use.
Framework, yeah.
It's a good example.
It's a great example, and I really love that they like specifically highlight like what you're supposed to do, which is like in the preparation, because you would write all this down and hand it to the referee. They specifically say in scene 2 we're going to address complication 1, in scene 11 we're going to address complication 2. So it's not that everything has to be done in order, which is really cool. I this is such a great example. And also, how about the fucking graphic design on this? Like this clipboard with like the halftone on it.
It's actually a little clipboard.
Oh. Yeah.
The example stamp on it. Yeah. Example.
So good.
The action. So the referee picks up the plan and runs the scenes one by one. This part should take an hour and a half, with each scene lasting no more than 5 to 10 minutes of play. A wobbly dice stack instills tension, and that's fair. When to roll. The referee tells you when you should make a roll. Typically, this happens when your crew member does something risky, like climbing a smooth surface or fighting someone. Follow the referee's lead. Actions. Simple actions automatically succeed, which, thank you for writing that down. I always appreciate it. It's like, yeah, simple stuff, but more complicated actions. It's a 2d6 system, and it works like a 2d6 system.
Love it.
Yeah, so 2-6, fail, improvise an alternative action and add dice to the stack, which is on the next page. 7-9, the action succeeds, but you must take a setback, which is on page 28, not inline hyperlink. Or add dice to the stack, your choice, except in the escape stage, when you must add dice. And then 10 plus is just a success, and then you may remove 1 die from the stack. Advantage and disadvantage. Crew members get advantage by calling a stunt or using appropriate gear. That's pretty much all you have as a character in this game. Yeah. The referee imposes disadvantages whenever fitting. It's just like all the time. Advantage, you roll 3, ignore the worst. Disadvantage, you roll 3, ignore the best. Also, like, that's a funny way to word it, just of all of our examples of advantage and disadvantage. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's like, you're right. That is that is. It's a very clean way to, instead of writing in multiple sentences, like, yeah, it's good.
That's it. Yeah. I really enjoy in the core mechanic of the game that there's never a time where like there's not an option to add or take away from the stack. The stack is ever present, because even on the mixed success part, you have to decide to either take a setback or just add to the dice. So there's always a choice. You're either putting a dice on, you're either taking the dice off, or having to choose which is the most likely outcome between narrating like a setback. You succeed but have a setback, and that's really important. I think a lot of people in 2d6 that really gets them hung up is partial success, which I'm not a fan of. It's mixed success. Partial success means like you don't do what you wanted to do all the way, which I disagree with. It's what this says is what makes sense to me. The action succeeds, but there is also, it's not kind of, it's yes but. And I really like that they specifically put in here, they specifically say the action succeeds, but, so this very specifically says like you still get to do what you do, but other shit happens. And I really like that. That's my favorite mechanic. Because 7 and 9, you get to do what you want to do. You do punch that guy in the face, but you know another dude comes in behind you. You know,
but you break your hand when you do it.
Yeah. So I really there's the French job they do throughout here with Jenny and Livingston and all that stuff. A great example of play. Like it's a page and a half of an example of play that you should really read. It specifically goes through the dice, why they're rolling the dice, what a setback looks like, what all of that looks like. It's an incredibly well written example of play, and I love the red, yellow, white on it. Again, graphically, layout wise, fucking beautiful.
Visually incredibly appealing to read through. It is also a really good example, and it follows a thing that we've talked about previously that I always really like when we read through tabletop games, is when all of the examples follow the same group or same people, and you're just like, it's like this ongoing narrative inside of the game about a group that play. I don't know why, but I always really love that.
Yeah, it's so good because you feel. I mean, I feel like it creates more engagement with the game and with the fiction too, because like when you get to the example, you're going to hear more of the story. Like it pulls you in a little bit more, and it's really really fantastic. And they do a great job here. They go through multiple scenes in the example: scene 2, scene 4, scene 7, like multiple scenes you get all the way through. And then you get to the dice stack. So during the game, you'll be asked to form dice stacks. Each stack starts with 0, and you stack as high as you can. So you get 3 stacks for the entire thing. Your first stack is a little tension. You add 1 dice each time you're supposed to add dice. But once the first stack falls and you get to your second stack, every time you have to add dice, you have to add 2 dice to the stack, right? And then on the third stack, guess what? You have to add 3 dice every time to the stack. And the only way you win the game is if the third stack is standing, or I guess fewer stacks, but odds are not in your favor for that, when you get it. So it says, if the third stack does not collapse, the crew is victorious and can enjoy their spoils on some tropical island on the other side of the world with umbrella mojitos and Cuban cigars. Such a good mechanic.
Man,
like,
that third stack, though, adding 3 dice at a time, you're like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, I mean, that you do it twice, and I'm like,
yeah, right.
This is gonna fall.
Yeah. So we get to a page here. I kind of want to throw this into spreads for a hot second. This is a great page that really, really. Oh no! I hate when that happens. So it's the spreads are off because there's no page in the beginning. You know what I love to do? A lot of times you can just insert a page in the PDF, but I didn't do that. So we're going to go back to just the single page view. So it's no players beyond this point. So for those listening, spoilers beyond here. This is the referee part. If you want to play this game, don't listen anymore, but let it play anyway. So we get the thing on our podcast. So great fucking spread here. It's like falling dice. There's police line. There's like a dice stack in the background. There's the popo. More dice, like a plane flying away in the background with someone hanging from the bottom. Like just a fucking great spread here. And it says referees only. Don't go past this part. So real quick run through on the referee. So refereeing the job, it talks about the brief, creating the brief. We've already talked about the parts of that: the object, location, budget, complications. It specifically says go see chapter 7. There's the preparation, where it says it's your job to give them the brief and then to listen to what they have to say, so that you can take notes on where things could go wrong. Your whole job for an hour and a half is just sit there and listen and take notes as a referee. There's a thing at the bottom that says you will need to improvise. Make sure you are comfortable with that. If you're not a good improviser, play this game to get better at it. I'm saying don't not do it, but this is the game to try to spread your wings a bit. Give details about the physical space the players are in, what they see, what they hear, what they smell, how tall the building is. Ask for rolls whenever it feels natural. Make use of setbacks and add interesting complications. A lot of the times with the complications, they're going to come back to bite you later. One of the examples before was someone had a mix, so they forgot a screwdriver on a table in a room where they had tied up guards. And then in a later scene, the guards like use a screwdriver to escape and like come running after you. That's an example of like setting up a setback to come back to bite them later in the butt. And it specifically says wait a couple scenes and then have that come back. So the action: pick up the plane and run the crew through the scenes they devised. Don't shy away from asking the players for help. What color is the building? What does it smell like? When you're running the scenes, interact with the players, ask for roles. Each scene should only take 5 to 10 minutes. Your job through this is to really guide them through the plan that they already had.
I think that this is like maybe one of, if you are not the most comfortable improvising, but you want to get better, I feel like this is maybe one of the pinnacle games of like practicing that, because there's just such this group narrative thing going on. And like, it so clearly establishes, like, just ask the player characters what they think as well, because I
was a player
thinking,
character,
and there's just, it's so much less crunchy mathematically that when you're improvising, you have to worry about like, setting DCs or like stuff like that. Like you can just, it's purely narrative and they're rolling dice to interact with that narrative. So you don't have to worry about the weight of like stats and stuff.
It's great. Another reason 2d6 is one of my favorite with very low modifiers is because you don't have to set DCs. You don't have to set target numbers. You don't have to have that math in your brain at all. The target is always what the target is. I love games where the target is always the same and maybe you tweak it a tiny bit, but that's it.
Like D&D.
Anyway. Sure. So running scenes, it basically, it goes through. It's a really good thing to read through, but if you've read a lot of books, a lot of it is more reinforcement than anything. Dice stack speed is important, though. This is interesting. So it says the first stack will most likely take time to collapse, maybe 4, 5, or even 6 scenes. It says this is fine. Don't get stressed about it. The second and third stacks will definitely collapse more quickly. Obviously, you're adding exponentially more dice. So you should probably aim at having the crew assemble the third stack in the last 2 or 3 scenes. So you are kind of corralling a little bit to add the tension. In some, the game starts slow and is designed to get abrupt and tense at the end. If you're already in scene 6 or 7 and the first stack did not collapse, think about asking for more rolls, because the only way to add dice to the stack is to add more rolls. So if you're not really asking for a lot, pick it up. If the dice are collapsing too fast, slow it down, do that kind of stuff. A section on player roles, it really just goes through when an action succeeds. It specifically calls out yes, but on 7 and 9. They do succeed on what they want to do, but you get to add a complication. And then the section on it failing. And then there's a whole breakdown on like how to build a good setback. The problems that come back to haunt the players in underlined subsequent scenes. A typical setback would be player getting injured. As you climb the wall, your feet slipped, but you moved on. Later in the heist, remember that climb? You're actually bleeding. Roll with disadvantage. So, like, if something happens, just be like, okay, that happened. And then, maybe throw a little something that might allude to something. Let a couple of scenes pass, and then hit them with it. There's a whole referee FAQ page here on how to dealing with setup scenes. Can you refuse the scene? Theater of the mind. How to use gear. What happens? Great page. Read it. It's awesome. Another cool spread here with all the eyes and like the making a plan thing. And then to get to the escape. Love this part. There's a success or the failure. If the stack does not fall, you win. Good job. You escaped. Mojitos, Cuban cigars, do whatever you want to do. The failure is really interesting. I enjoy this a lot. So if the third stack collapses, the heist is over. The game either stops right then, or you can use these rules, which I really enjoy. So you can narrate a chaotic escape. The crew member who made the stack collapse is caught. That's it. Game over. You're done, Joe. Like, you are going to jail. But all other players have exactly 1 minute to write down on a piece of paper what their crew member will do. But whatever they do, it must involve at least one other crew member, and players cannot talk to each other during this phase. Love that. So when the time is up, players reveal their writings. They now have exactly 3 minutes to work out a logical story based on what they've written. Select one player to be the spokesperson. When the time is up, the spokesperson explains the escape to the referee, who compares it to the notes. If the referee finds inconsistencies, they may send crew members to jail. If the escape and the notes are consistent, all crew members escape, and they're free to play the next time. I love the idea that, like, you have 4 people sitting around, and if this person says they do this, and this person says they do that, like, they're caught, because there's no way that they could tie that into the story. But if somehow player 1 and player 3 say they meet up with each other without ever talking to each other and like escape through the window, then it's just like, that's great. You didn't have to talk about it, but somehow you knew, and then it's just gone. I love the idea that, like, if it makes sense, sure, and if not, like, you're fucked. You just get this little chaotic 4 minutes at the end to maybe do it, maybe don't. And I love that.
The creative writing project, guys.
How the fuck am I getting out of here? What makes sense? There's a whole chapter here on creating briefs. It really breaks down the object, the place, the budget. Right here it says the default budget's around $250K. I love this kind of Swami looking guy. I think that's, I don't know if that's the correct way to say that, but he's got the hat, So search the internet for brochures for real life places and print them out. Give them to the players with the brief so they can pinpoint scenes. I love the idea of handing them a literal folder that actually has like brochures from the Louvre tucked into it, and like photographs that you could actually print on like print paper, like as if you had really like scouted it out a little bit and had it in there like clipped. You know, people always like flip up one page or whatever and see
that would
like
be
shit.
really, if I sat down to play like a heist game and they were like did a real world location and they were like they brought pamphlets and then like some photos, I'd be like, this is the, I love shit like that.
Yeah,
you know,
cream my fucking jeans. Like it's like you give me a real dossier that looks like we're really stealing from the Louvre. That's amazing. So yeah. There's a whole page here on possible complications. I love all of the graphics for these. They're amazing.
The graphics are really fantastic.
Oh my god.
It follows along with the black, red, and yellow motif, and it's just so like the heat sensor one.
Oh,
like
that's what I was gonna say.
The same color motif.
It's so good. That I love the dog one too. Like just the slight angle with the red ear in the back. It's small, but like it's great. But like
I gotta
honestly,
say dogs or tigers.
Yeah, I wish that they would give these out as little tokens or whatever. Because I would literally just be like, I slide those off or like put those onto a sheet. These I would rip these right off the fucking PDF and use these just as is.
I wish they do patches. I wish more non-mothership games did patches. You know?
Yeah. Dude, even just stickers. So you could literally just have like a sheet where you put these down as stickers would be fucking amazing.
Like Boy Scout badges or whatever.
Oh, yeah, dude. If you got this as like, I defeated the reinforced doors and you got like a sticker or a patch or a badge or something like that for doing that, that'd be so dope. I mean, I don't know if it's thematic, but like, that's it. Anyway, so there's a bunch of example briefs, and my goodness, the layout on these as if they're like movie posters, but with the brief attached to them. Some of the best shit, like, period, in fucking tabletop games.
Not only like movie posters, but like really good ones.
So good. There's the low-hanging proof. I love it. It says directed by the referee, and there's even like the PG-13 here. It says copyright 2023 Fake Films LLC. Like, it's great. So there's the low-hanging fruits. There's the fish and golden chips, where you're stealing from like the royal family. And you get the horns. I really love that one. Again, a lot of like halftone collage, like poster art in this. Marble like flesh. Get back to Alcatraz, and there's a compatibility section. It just talks about like being able to use this as like a mini game within another campaign. Like if you're and being able to use it for like if you want to do this in a dungeon, just switch it up, like, and just instead of having a budget, just have it be the gear that you actually have. But this would be so great. I love the idea of games that use mini games to do something different. Like if you want to do a heist in 5e, just play a different game, but like play 5e, and when you want to do a heist, just stick the job in or another heist game and then go back to the regular thing, you know?
That's how I feel about is it Clean Spirits?
Yes, as like
That's
a
exactly
zero session.
game. I'm like, that is the most. It's the most perfect game to slide into another game that you're already doing. But yeah,
make your game a series of mini games.
This is the exact same thing, though. It's like you could easily slide this into another game that you're doing and like run a heist with good heist rules.
Yeah, it's so good. And then at the back, there's sheets. There's plan sheets. There is your character sheets. There's you can print the crew sheets, all that stuff. And then much like a lot of games on Novoa stuff, it's CC, it's Creative Commons 4.0 international license, share, copy, redistribute, all of it. Just give attribution to games Omnivorous. I also love this when the book tells you the book was designed with the Open Sans 9/11 and the GASO 2732 specimens. Like it gives you like the typefaces and stuff like that. I love that. Especially like when we're doing promo, I like to like try to use a lot of the.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I know you love that shit because you're making all of our promo. It's hard to make it match if you don't know what they're using.
Dude, a lot of times I'll literally just straight up like there's websites like I'll just copy paste a piece of font and then just go to a website that's like a typeset finder and throw it in and be like, oh, it's fucking Garamond or some shit, and then there's the back cover, which is also fantastic. I love the people falling down off of the dice stack. It's really great. And that's the end of the book. You're after the good stuff: gems, diamonds, gold bullion, etc. And the job is a tabletop game where you can win, lose, you prepare, and you commit a heist. That's it. Fucking.
I love the ramping up like dice stack, by the way. Like I know we're right there, and now I'm just like I'm thinking like, oh, God, like it's like kind of tense, and it just progressively just gets way more tense, and then you knock over the first one, you're like, oh fuck, it's like well now you add 2 every time, and you're like, oh God.
Really good. Really good. All right. So first scores of the year. Clearly, I mean, it's a book. It's a hardcover book. I don't care that it's 48 pages. This is one of those things that's like zine book that we talked about a lot of time. Like a zine can be up to like 70-ish pages and still be stapled together. And if it's stapled together, realistically, I guess we're reviewing it as that's the thing. If I have a 70-page zine, we're doing a book review.
Yeah, if it's 70 pages, I think it's we're crossing into book territory. This is like a very lean book, but like this still is in book territory.
Yeah, well, and again, it's the fact that it also is physically a book as well. Like it kind of forces itself into that category. So the 30 to 70 range is going to be a very that's going to be where we're having to like have discussions.
I also think
about
a big thing is like, what do the creators call it? Do they call it a zine? You know, like
well, it says a Games Omnivorous book.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, you know, if the creators call it a book, then that also is probably going to.
Well, and also if we do talk to a creator beforehand that we're going to review their game, like we'll ask, like we've asked creators before, we're like, this could be a zine, we could do a full book review. What do you want? And they almost always say, give me the full fucking Monty, you know? And so we give it to them. So, especially if you listen to our year-end review for 2023, and if you didn't, go check it out. It's really good. We've been told. I also think that, we did a good job. Apparently better than last year, someone said, and we really appreciate the kind words about that. So, we have 5 metrics for books, 10 points each. 5 is bang average, nothing good or nothing bad. Max score of 50, highest we've ever given is like a 44. We do art and layout, which is just the like layout as in like how it looks, not necessarily how it works. Quality, quantity, all this stuff for art. Usability is the layout, how it works. Is it readable? Is it hyperlinked? Is it bookmarked? Do the maps work? Do the character sheets work? All that kind of stuff. Rule set. Do we like the rule set? Is it good? If it's adapted, is it adapted well? Originality, could be setting, could be rules, could be anything. It's just whatever level of originality the game might have. And value is the bang for your buck. Not only the book itself, but does it come with character sheets, third-party licenses, extra content, online generators, all that shit. So art and layout, my goodness, we're starting the year real strong on this.
I know, this is a strong first art and layout.
It's so good. It's so good. And you know what's interesting is if you compare this to something like Hell Knight, for example, I absolutely fucking love the art and layout. That it's insane. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. But this is readable, you know. It
is readable. Which
drops the usability a little bit.
Handmade, you know. So
its lack of readability was counteracted by how fucking awesome it was, and the fact that you got a readable PDF later. But the fact that this one is artistically fantastic, and readable is great. I mean, Gunteio, fucking my god, dude, this book is absolutely stunning. I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, there's art in it. It's poster style, collage. This is, if you're gonna do public domain art, this is how to fucking do it. You put it into a complete style of your own. It's so just thoughts.
I think the layout's pretty fantastic. It's mostly like 2-column ish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of. Yes.
Kind of. Yeah.
I think the like boxes on all the pages work really well. They fit in really well. They don't feel like they're standing out. Your eyes are drawn to where they're supposed to go. I mean, this is like a really very strong 8 for me. I could be convinced to go potentially higher.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this scratched the 9 box for me.
I mean, I think I'm good with a 9 on this one. So
yeah, that's where I was at, because realistically, when you think of like artistically, the art all the way through, amazing. I love the layout. I love the spreads. I love what they did with the halftone. I think the consistency of the style all the way through, where every single page is just reinforcing the vibe over and over and over again, not just in the art, but also in like the layout of the page, as far as like the color of the page, the icons used on the page.
Yeah.
The split sometimes where like half the page is red, half the page is white, half the page is yellow, half the page is black. I think it not only is the art great, but the way the layout is done, like you said, one of the things that I think really elevates it from an 8 to a 9 for me is the switch in kind of motifs in the different kind of like phases of the book. Almost the basics are pretty a little bit more reserved. The preparation phase bumps it up, and then you get to the referee section where so much of it is like black and has kind of a different vibe. I think the attention to detail on that really elevates that to me. So for me, I think this is a pretty solid 9. If you're cool with that.
I'm super cool with that. Totally.
Yeah. All right, usability. It's a book. It's super usable. The pages are thin. It's split in a way, unlike a lot of books we've read, where like all of the shit you need for the players is in one section, and all the shit you need for the referees in a different section. You don't have to parse. I know it's only like it's less than 50 pages. You don't have to parse it. And realistically, you could print like 2-3 pages out of this, and including a crew sheet. And have everything you need as a player to run the entire game, period. You don't really need anything outside of that. Even just a plan sheet and a crew sheet gives you enough.
Yeah, and you can get the sheet and you can print everything out, and that's really cool. It gives you these tools to use. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it has bookmarks. It doesn't have hyperlinks. I don't think it has a physical silk book ribbon, right?
No, but it's only 48
pages.
I know it's
right. But listen, this is the things we talk about when it comes to usability.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I do think, even the printing of this is really beautiful. It doesn't have a silk ribbon, but you can see like there's like a little bit of like ribboning, threading on the inside. It's not just like, held together by glue on the sheets. It's such a it's a good print. This ain't POD is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I do think when we look at usability, though, like we're hyperlink people, we got to put out that hyperlink merch. The lack of hyperlinks in this, I don't think it's as egregious because of the size of the PDF. Yeah. Like if you're 30 pages or less, it doesn't bother me at all, really, if it's not hyperlinked, because it's such a short document. And it is bookmarked, but I do think the step up in PDFs to actually hyperlinking, and there are a lot of references to other pages, I think would be nice to be able to click to.
I'm about to say the page, yeah, you're right. The hyperlink maybe doesn't bother me, but like the fact that there are page references that are hyperlinked, I'm like, bro, that is kind of
Yeah. I don't remember if a lot of the other Games on River stuff has hyperlinked PDFs or not.
I don't remember either.
I'm pretty
so
sure.
There's
I'm pretty
not really any
is.
like online tools for this either. Not that I feel like there's a big need for it.
There's no. What would you do? Like randomly generate a character? They're all there. You don't do anything to do.
Hey, job generator, you know.
Yeah, I guess, but I think that's
What are you thinking? What are you thinking for usability?
I think it's about average. I wish it had hyperlinks, but it does have, like I said, it does have bookmarks. I think that the book is laid out in a way that makes a ton of sense.
Yes.
So that clearly adds to usability. That's one of the reasons that we broke usability away from layout and moved layout to a completely visual thing, is because there were so many books where we're like, the layout looks great, but like I have to flip to 10 different sections just to understand the rules of the fucking game. So I think the content is laid out incredibly well. Everything you need is highlighted in the ways that you need it. When I finished reading this book, I had no question on how it worked. And I think that the layout and the way it was designed as far as the usability really fed into that. So I don't know. I'm probably like a 7. I was going to say 7. Yeah. And you held up fingers that also said 7. So I completely agree with you on that. So 7 for usability. Hyperlinks would have bumped it to an 8. I think that, again, like the way the content is laid out this in such a short book is important, and it's great. Rule set. Yeah.
Great rule set. Very
2D6?
very simple. It's 2d6. 2d6.
2d6 mixed success. I don't know if you know this about me. I don't know if you know this about me. I kind of like 2d6 mixed success. And I love that they reinforce over and over again, yes, but I love that they reinforce over and over again, push the narrative. I think it's fantastic. Again, I don't want to play a heist game at all, but I would play the shit out of this. I can't think of something that I would change about this. The only thing that, if I had to be nitpicky as fuck, would be a slight bit, like one more line about the optional heat is the only thing where I'm like, I would just pick, but if there was a maybe a little bit more explanation of which one was heat and which one was, it's the only thing. But I mean, other than that, fuck, like, what are you thinking? I mean, I think if I love a minimalist game. This has no stats. There's no HP. You roll, and if you fail, you add to the stack. And then if you fail, you have to like, okay, so what are you going to do instead narratively? Yes. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. Well, that's the thing about this is it's like in the context of genre discussion and et cetera, this is a story game hard. Like this to me plays way more like Fiasco than it does like D&D. So like it makes sense. There's no stats, there's no HP, there's none of that bullshit. It's all narrative, and it's all designed to be improv and narrative. So it's not relating it to D&D as much as, like I said, relating it to Fiasco. So like so what do you think? No, what do you think? Give me a number. You feel you're feeling passionate. I want to hear. A 10? No, I'm kidding. No. For what it is and what it does, it's the best heist game I've ever read. So for that's important. You know what I mean? And then this, there's some subjective aspects of this where I'm like, yeah, but I love combat games, but like I would play the shit out of this. I'm between an 8 and a 9 on this pretty easily. What are your thoughts? Let's go with an 8. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing you could really change about it. I don't know either, but I'm feeling that's where my gut's telling me. So yeah, like I said, I was between an 8 and a 9 on this, and yeah, I mean, we've only ever given 110. So 9 is the highest you can go. And 8, I think that's probably just our subjectivity on like style and whatnot. Yeah, but it absolutely is. This could easily be a 9 on a different day where we're not as tired. Originality. I mean, fuck, what do you do? I mean, let's talk about art wise, layout and everything like that. Originality, the 70s, like heist motif thing. Insane. The style of game 2, like this is straight up narrative heist game in exactly the way that we both actually like heists. Like, name me another game that does this. And I guarantee if someone says heist, a lot of people are going to say Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark ain't this. Blades in the Dark, again, I don't think that rule system is designed to do what it wants to do. And this does a rule system, every aspect of it feeds back into itself constantly. What are your thoughts on originality? I mean, yeah, it's a really great heist game. It's not the only heist game. It is a very specific style of heist game. Although I would also say it's pretty open to interpretation as well. But it really is this like callback to these classic heist movies in a way that other heist games aren't really. They just do it differently. So I think this kind of stands on its own as its own thing. Although once again, I haven't read Honey Heist, so could be the same game for all I know. I love a game that I can play Frank Ocean in. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Grab me a towel, I'm dirty dancing. I'm gonna be imagining Frank Ocean leading a heist gang. Him, Tyler the Creator, poorly at Bonner or whatever. Earl Sweatshirt. I think it's I think it's like an 8 again for me for originality. Okay, so here's the thing: either rule set or originality. One of these is a 9. Pick one. No, you pick one. I'm good with either of those. So, all right. I got mush brain today. My brain's extra soft today and extra smooth. I shined it. We're going 9 on rule set because honestly, here's the thing with rule set. I can't think of anything else that I want to do. I think for what this does, it's perfect. It's like you're right. I wouldn't add anything to it. So no, and I wouldn't take anything away. There's not a single thing I would take away. Originality. I think this is a solid 8. Other heist games exist, but not in the style of this. There's not a game out there that lets me play, Ocean's 11. And again, we grew up in the age of fucking heist movies and of remakes of heist movies, and they're great. Value wise, I don't, much like most of the games it's just not expensive. You're not happen to be looking it up, are you?
It's really not expensive.
I bought 2 and didn't really think about it.
It's 25 euros, so that's what, $27.
It's $27.
I know.
And it's a thin book. It's only 50 pages, but it's a gorgeous book.
Yeah, it's very, very pretty. It's nice. It'll look good on a shelf. It's nice to go through. You get the PDF.
I mean, listen, I've seen people putting 50-page zines for $35 and wanting you to pay $15 for the PDF as well. $25 for the PDF and the zine of the quality of Games Omnivorous.
Yeah.
Value-wise, this is fantastic. You can print all the crew sheets. You can print everything that you want. It's CC BY. All you have to do is attribute. I think as far as like not having a need for really anything beyond that, the value on this is pretty fucking good. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts?
I think it's good. I think it's a good price for what you're getting,
Yeah. Where are you at?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a good price. You don't get, there's not really anything else online for it, which I don't necessarily think could maybe a detriment for this game.
But you don't need, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing else you would want or need. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they give you like 6 brief examples in the book.
That is very true. I mean, I think it's a strong 8. Yeah,
I think it's a strong 8. I mean, just because it doesn't need more doesn't mean that like games that like have more don't deserve higher. But I think that's an easy 8 for me. So realistically, I mean, if this was hyperlinked, the lowest score on it would be an 8. This is immediately like in the running for top game of the year at the end of the year, and I think it absolutely fucking deserves it. I think for what this game is, this to me is reminiscent of what we thought about 9 Lives to Valhalla in a way that like it's perfect for what it is.
I very much agree. I was actually thinking that a little bit ago. I'm like, it's very much the same kind of minimalist way. It's just really good at doing a thing, Yeah.
And if you do that thing well, then you're killing it. So that's a 41 on the first review of the year from Games Omnivorous product from Andre Novoa. Fantastic game. I would love to play this. I really hope we can get this to stream. Again, starting strong. I imagine unless some fucking bangers come out, this is going to be in a top 5, multiple ones at the end of the year. My gosh, will this be in the art and layout one at the end of the year at least? Great game. Love it. Have no idea what's coming up next on the docket. Our January is jam fucking packed, and February with Zemo and everything is going to be just as stacked. So expect a shitload of episodes. I think we have maybe 10 or 12.
I'm going to take all of February off, and you can just handle Zemo on your own. So
there you go. I genuinely think we have 10 to 12 episodes planned just for January so far, and that's not even touching on Zemo, even though some of those are prep for Zemo that are coming out like the last week or two.
True.
So expect a lot of Weekly Scroll. Again, thank you everyone so much for the end of last year. We really want to start this year strong and hit it hard. We said we were going to do less interviews, and we have like 10 planned, but after Zemo, and even through Zemo, what we would love to do is consistently get back to doing more games. We had fewer games than we kind of wanted to last year, and a lot more interviews. We regardless of what we do, I would like to make sure we get at least 3, if not all 4, every month, so we can end the year on like 50 fucking games.
Yeah,
and
I'd be down for that. It's funny because we've been doing so many interviews, and I've been like, I want to do less interviews, and then we did. The Games Omnivorous interview, I'm like, damn, that was really good. We should do some more.
Fucking banger. It was fucking banger. Yeah. I really think we're just going to be a little bit more picky about it. And I do think that we should lend a little bit more stuff to like our monthly crowdfunding thing where we can talk about people's projects where like we might love them and their projects. But, as far as like our schedule and our time, I do want to be a little bit more I want to take care of me in 2024. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not going to sacrifice sleep as much when we can address projects otherwise. So I mean, but if you're fucking Andre Novoa, we're going to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's some people you just can't say no to. But again, thank you everyone for all the support from last year. Thank you for your support continuing forward into 2024. This was a banger first episode. Expect more very soon. You're all amazing. That's it. Love you too, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.